Hey everybody, this is One More Road for the Beer, the podcast where we talk about beer, food, and travel throughout the best beer cities in Europe. I'm Zachary Johnston, and with me as always is my trusty beer companion, Joe Stang.
Hey, Zach.
Hey, so, Joe, what city are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to Rome today, Zach.
Italia.
Last show we did Prague, and this show we're doing Rome, and so obviously next week we have to go somewhere beautiful because these ugly cities are really starting to weigh me down.
Wear on us, yeah.
We gotta send them somewhere nice, man.
Well, this is going to be probably a little bit different of an episode because it's going to be food heavy. Because you can't drink beer in Rome without eating amazing food. It's almost impossible.
Oh, it's possible. It's possible. We're going to help you avoid that scenario.
Right, because the food here really is fantastic. Also, whenever I first went to Rome or Italy in general, I didn't really first think about beer. Like, wine, vermouth, Negronis, bitters, things like that. And actually, after we met a few years ago, you kind of got me into the fact that Italy has a beer scene and Rome has an amazing beer scene and beer bar culture, and changed everything for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a young beer culture, but it's legitimate. It's up there with the big beer countries now, I think, in terms of variety that's out there and the quality that you can find and the hospitality you're going to find in the pubs. And obviously the food was already there, so right. We got that. And I think the thing is that the birra artigianale, it's not a novelty there anymore. It's something I read earlier today. Manuele Colonna said it in an article. It's not a novelty anymore, and it's true. When you walk around the streets of Rome, which if you're a tourist like us, it's fun to go in random directions and suddenly pop out and bang, there's the Pantheon. How did that happen? I don't really know where I am, but that's cool. and all these little cafes and bars that you see, a lot of them have a little sign out front that says birra artigianale, or it will say in English, craft beer. And so you won't have a hard time finding good beer there, but it won't necessarily be where you want it. If you're going to go look for a great restaurant or the food markets or a deli or something that you've heard about, the odds of them having something really greater. But we are distilling things down to the very highlights, so that's why we're here.
Right, exactly. And it's also what I find, I like finding little words like lupoli is hops and little things like that. It sounds so much better in Italian sometimes.
Yeah, I have to try not to do the exaggerated cartoon
I know,
pizza
right?
Man accent. It's I get in trouble.
We're both Americans, so it's going to be tough. But that's what I sort of love about beer in Italy is there's such a focus on local, fresh agricultural ingredients in that country being done so well that it makes perfect sense that would translate all, of course, to the beer, just like it translates to the wine and the bitters and the ham and the cheese and, everything else.
I mean, it's ground zero for slow food, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and I think that there's a reverence for ingredients and a reverence for doing things a traditional way. And in the case of beer, in that context, it's a lot of times for the brewing traditions and paying attention to how they do things and trying to do them that way. And in the case of the pubs, trying to serve them that way, which will illustrate, I think, as we get there, as we talk about these places.
Yeah. What's interesting to me about these places as well is it feels like Rome. Every beer bar I've been into in Rome, it's nowhere else in the world, because it's usually, in general, a small little room. There's a door, there's some tables, maybe outside, and people are always pouring out into the streets. Even if it's a little bit tinkle rain outside, there'll still be, 5, 10 people out there drinking pints of great beer every day of the week almost. And that's just, that's Rome to me, and that's beer in Rome.
Sounds good. That's well illustrated. There, you forgot about the long line of Vespas parked outside.
Right. Yeah. And the artistic graffiti framing everyone.
It's very photogenic.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Cool.
Yeah.
So where's the first place we should go?
Well, I think unless you're on a crazy cross-continental road trip or you got a cool little rail pass that you're scooting around on, you're probably going to be flying into Rome, right? So the good news is it's very easy. There's the airport express train from the airport. There's a station directly connected to the airport. €8. Your ticket. It leaves every 15 minutes, and the train takes about 30 or 40 minutes normally.
And you're smack dab in the center.
It's easy. I mean, the other option, I think, is to pay about €50 for a taxi. I think maybe it's like a flat 48, I think. So then it's €40 difference. That's beer tokens, man. That's,
For sure.
Save that money. So it's so easy to take the train. You should do it.
Yeah.
So the place I like to get out is the Roma Trastevere station. Then you have a good hike up toward the Trastevere, which is a cool area that we'll talk about. But right there by the station, about a block away, is Lupilo station. And it's it's useful. It's right there by the station, right where you get out. You're like, long trip, need a beer. There it is. And I think they've got about 12 taps, I reckon, and a couple of British-style hand pumps as well.
Oh, wow.
The theme in there is old-timey train station. They've got like old-fashioned clocks and railway signs, and it's kind of steampunk. And then my favorite bit is the tap list up on the wall above the bar. It's like one of those old school train station timetables. So, when you watch in your city move up to the next thing, and all the little tiles go clickety clackety click clickety clack. And so that happens every time they change beers. Right. So you're like kind of waiting for the beer to change, and then you have to stop conversation. Oh, here it comes. It's cool. I like that. It's all digital, but it doesn't take a lot of imagination to. Right. Anyway, so they've got burgers. I've never had burgers there. Actually, I've been to Rome 3 times, always looking for beer stuff for articles and things to write. And I have yet to eat a burger in Rome, and I'm kind of proud of that fact.
Yeah, likewise.
Even though a lot of the beer bars do burgers, they do have a little get a little board with salumi and cheese and stuff, and that's aperitivo time. So it's perfect kind of snacks for while drinking the beers.
That sounds like the perfect first stop because you're still at the train station.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You take the edge off before you have to go to your hotel or Airbnb or what have you. And plus you're in the perfect neighborhood because it's super walkable, tons of food, market, everything's right there. That's great. So then you have to leave the train station. Where do we go next?
I think you hike on in, or you can take, I think it's a tram, isn't it?
Yeah.
Up into the heart of Trastevere. And this is a neighborhood that... it's a nest. I mean, it's a warren of alleys and narrow streets, little scooters rolling by, and you have to kind of dodge those. And it's lots of cafes and bars and restaurants. And it's not a secret anymore. Probably hasn't been in a long time. But so it's plenty of tourists in there. But still, there is a load to do that doesn't cost much. And even there's quite a few budget hotel options there, too.
For sure.
So for me, that's kind of where I think about, I have stayed there, and that's kind of where I think about maybe the ideal spot for somebody. And the one other reason, the main reason maybe, is that it's very convenient to one of the top beer bars in all of Europe, Ma che siete venuti a fa.
Yes, that is.
I practiced saying that earlier today.
And you did well. That is an iconic beer bar. I mean, it epitomizes what I was saying earlier. Tiny little spot, amazing tap selection, bottle selection, people spilling out in the streets, people who really care and love a beer, but also can be relaxed about it. But also, last time I was there, they brought up a little mini keg of Frankenlager, tapped it right there and started pouring it off. And I was like, well, I guess I'm sitting here the rest of the night. Because it's just that sort of place where suddenly there's something amazing happening coming out of a keg.
Yeah, if you didn't know what it was, you wouldn't know what it was if you're walking by it. I mean, there's no craft beer here signs or anything like this. It's literally a hole in the wall. I mean, there's a hole and there's a wall, and that's where. And the only clue that there's beer in there is people, standing around outside and smoking and talking and drinking beer. And so when you identify this hole as your hole, and you go in, then you have this small, cozy front room with a ridiculous, for the size of it, number of taps on the bar, which if you go when it's crowded is going to be a little bit intimidating. If you go early in the day, which I recommend, then you might even have the place to yourself.
Yeah. There's a little room at the back as well if you want to settle in with some friends. But they'll have some crazy good stuff on those taps.
I always do. I looked at what they have today as of right now. So or maybe they changed some of them. But earlier today, they had listed on their tap list, they had... Stille Nacht from the Dole in West Flanders. This is one of the best of the deep, rich, strong Belgian winter ales, and it's just a classic. They had Foufoun from Cantillon, the apricot lambic, the really sharp, juicy one that's people get really weird about that beer. But they have it on tap, it's on keg, and it's just people kill each other to get bottles of it, and so it's on tap here. No big deal. Right. From Franconia, they had Knoblauch Lagerbier, one of my absolute favorites. Nice, bitter Keller beer, essentially, is what it is. Yep. And they had the Mungsenbacher Lagerbier also.
Ooh, nice.
Which is basically a perfect, rich, fairly bitter, again, a Franconian style kind of hearty, Helles Lagerbier. So,
what I always found amusing, whenever I go to their website, it says they're a football bar. And it's like branded as a like
Yeah.
really cheap football bar and not a beer bar at all.
I think that's how it started.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the beer sort of took over.
Yeah. And now it's sort of like almost like a mask, like you got to know. But,
There is more room in the back where you can watch football.
right,
Soccer.
that's true.
Say
Yeah.
soccer. There's a cellar area in the basement as well. But I think the ideal thing, if you can, is to belly up to that bar and talk and geek out with fellow people who probably came from all over the world, just like you, to be there.
Absolutely, yeah. I've struck up conversations with I don't know how many people just standing on the street right there outside that bar, drinking beers. Being like, oh, what are you drinking? Oh, how is it? Well, and it's just automatic. Like you barely have to try to make new friends there.
Besides the keg taps, they've got a couple of British-style hand pumps as well. So they take that seriously, and then they every now and then will pull out the Holzfass, the wooden barrel of German lager, usually almost always from Franconia, and pop that spigot and he bangs that mallet in there, and you might get splashed before they start pouring beers.
That's when you know not to move.
Yeah, right. You want to be there.
And the prices aren't that crazy. I mean, it's average for Europe prices. I don't think it's like, it's not like Scandinavian prices. No offense to Scandinavia.
No, I think it's even, I don't think it's one of the more expensive places in Rome even.
No.
For the beers that you get there. Yeah. And not everything is Cantillon there. I mean, they've got some very approachable. And besides the ones I mentioned, none of which were Italian, they always, most of the others are going to be a good range of different Italian craft beers. So
yeah, and they're going to range in very affordable prices. I mean, less than €4 a pint for sure.
My memory on that is foggy.
Right. I just remember 2 times ago when I was there, it was right after I'd been in either Oslo or Reykjavik, and I had a Mikkeller, the exact same beer I had in the other city, and I literally paid half the price for it in Italy than I did in Scandinavia. And so I was just sort of like, it's cheap here. And now that's etched into my mind. Yeah, should we get some food and some beer at our next stop?
Yeah, they don't have any food in Marche.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's so many like little pizza places around there.
I love the little places where they have all of the pizza, and you tell them how much you want, and they cut squares out.
Weigh that shit out.
Crisp it in the oven, weigh it. I love those places.
Yeah.
But the pizza we're going to talk about next is not that kind.
Right.
Although it's very good.
Yeah.
The beer and food, just across the alley from Marche, and also started by the same folks. You walk in.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was the same people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And often the same beers, that's good news also, because the other place also has food. So you can still have like a Knoblauch lager beer or a Tipo Pils or something like, great Italian beer as well. And then, and also eat.
Yeah.
So in fact, it may be a good idea to eat first if you have
Yeah, and it's fairly good, like Roman cuisine, sort of classic food.
It's pizza.
Yeah, right?
Ask people what Roman style pizza is, and you'll get a bunch of different answers.
That's very true.
But one thing that I've read is that the Roman crust has some olive oil in it, as opposed to Naples, which is sort of lighter and softer, and so maybe the Roman crust is crustier.
Right.
But it's still going to be made fresh. It's still going to be like they have to take all the ingredients seriously, and there's no pizza police like in Naples. But the pizza there's good. Well, I think we all have strong opinions about pizza, right?
Oh yeah.
Or everybody thinks they do. But when you get back there to the back room of the place and you see the little pizza kitchen in the corner and the guy's doing everything by hand, and you're in good hands. So.
Yeah, for sure.
The front room is this sort of long tunnel, and the design reminds me of Moss Isley Cantina for some reason. It's like or Luke's Moisture Farm. Luke Sauer's Moisture Farm, is just this sort of. It looks kind of like a cave, and there's odd things on the wall that don't quite fit in. And then there's just this long row of taps, and it's a mix of different beers. So you're not going to mistake it for what it is. It's a beer bar when you go in there, but they've got pizza and good little snacks too. So.
Yeah. What I'm thinking about as well, because a lot of the places I end up going to, because you're walking around during the day and you find little, just like sandwich bars and little saloon areas and little corner places where out front it just looks like a regular Italian deli. But then you go in and you look at the beer menu and you're just like, oh, well, look at that. There's amazing beer here. One place that I always think of is Birra e Sale, which is sort of right in the center, not far from the Pantheon and all that. And it's that sort of thing. It's kind of like, you don't think of it as a beer bar when you walk by it, which I kind of like. Signs out, there's nothing, but you go in, and first of all, you can order just amazing sandwiches piled high with mortadella or colbo or
You said mortadella, man. That's my That's my jam. I'm a bologna man. I'm into the mortadella.
Just pile it high, or get some of those like cold but sautéed caramelized onions on top, and some olive oil, and there's a big pile of olives on the side. Bere Sale is one of those places where I think they have, I don't know, maybe 8-10 beers, but they're all local from the area. Maybe they have 20, I can't remember exactly. But it's all just local beers that they chose to have in from local brewers around Rome and maybe a little further afield in Italy, but very localized. And it's the sort of thing where all the labels are very, bright and bold, and the bottles are on the wall behind the deli bar. And you sort of sit there and be like, yeah, I'll try a raw barley pale ale. Why not? And just sit there shoving your face with mortadella and drinking beer.
Yeah.
And then you walk out and you walk, 3 blocks and there's the Pantheon. To me, that's the perfect sort of Rome experience where he's like, oh yeah, there's good beer everywhere.
Yeah, you can have your fancified bologna sandwich, and you don't have to settle for a Peroni.
I know, right?
Yeah, which is, those beers have their fans, but if you want that, you can find it. That won't be a problem. But there are better options out there.
Yeah, and if you're there in the height of summer and, it's 110 degrees out, I'll knock back a Maroni or a Peretti just as fast as humanly possible, especially if it's ice cold. But then again, that's not every day in Rome. I also love sort of, there's another place, L'Osteria di Birra del Borgo, kind of north of the Vatican by Metro Ottovino. And it's another one of these places where it's kind of reminds me of beer food, but they do a bit more food. And so they do just fantastic handmade pastas and, all the arancinis and the fried cod balls. And then the pizzas are just, like the anchovy and zucchini flour pizza with a beautiful, just gorgeous local beer is just one of the best things, especially if you just spent hours in the Vatican walking around and you just want to sit down and just fill yourself with nutrients. And also, they have 8 taps that are just focused on local Italian beers, and then they have 14 guest taps of just European classics, basically, for lack of a better term, from Germany to Belgium, maybe a few English beers thrown in. I think they even had a Brewdog tap when I was there last time. Maybe I might be mistaken, but it's 22 beers on tap plus excellent quote-unquote Roman cuisine plus pizzas.
Yeah, you're teaching me, man. I didn't know these last two.
So anyway, there's a part of the Vatican where you actually walk into the museum on the north side of the wall.
Yeah.
If you go from there about 2 blocks, you'll hit this place.
Okay. Well, I got a place near there.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
There we go.
You know Bere?
I know it for a beer, but I haven't spent time there.
Okay. I used to see that long line of people waiting to do their Vatican tour or something.
Right.
And I just want to tell them, look, leave your family here, and I'll show you a cool place to get a beer and a sandwich. And it's not really a sandwich; it's something more. We'll get there. But the bere, it's the verb means to drink. But it's also be dare, beer restaurant is the.
Oh, okay.
So it's a half and half type operation. A bit like beer and food is sort of the half tap house, half pizzeria thing. In fact, also started by the same folks.
Okay.
I've mentioned him a couple times, I think, already, Emanuele Colonna. He's an influential person, I think, not just in Italy, but in Europe for beer. Because of this sort of reverence that he's shown for Belgian beer and German lager and these different things, and the way that he has been able to get all these different beers and treat customers and everything. So I think a lot of people have looked to him and the way he's done things and followed. So it's not just about him; others have done it too. But anyway, Bere, you've got 20 taps, I think, on the left side as you walk in. 4 hand pumps, and then what you see. The first thing I noticed was 3 overly clean-looking German Holzfass type lager barrels. And I'm such a rube. The first time I thought, oh wow, they have Holzfass in here. They're real Holzfass. These are way too clean to be real ones. They're fake, but they send the right signals.
Right.
They're cool, and they're connected to kegs underneath, but they have the cool Czech style side taps,
Oh yeah.
So you get that nice creamy foam, and you can then the tap master, as you would, they might call them in Czechia, would can control that, so you get a nice cool pour. They often serve those in Franconian style Steinkrug, what you might find in a lot of Bavarian beer gardens. So that again sends a comforting sort of signal. But they also have a wide range of good Italian beers. You might find like Toccomato, Ray Hop there, which is one I really like. A nice light, kind of dryish pale ale that's kind of defies categorization, but it's got a lot of character and you can drink a lot of it.
Sounds good.
They've got a saison called Sibella also that's really quite nice and convincing as non-Belgian saisons go. It's another one that's real pleasant to drink. And you find this with a lot of the Italian breweries that do Belgian ales, that they will bottle ferment and they'll keep them in the warm room, so you get that conditioning in the bottle. And process-wise, they're going to be very similar, and you're going to get that well-attenuated, what the Belgians call digestibility. That makes it often quite dangerous to drink because you find that it doesn't fill you up. So the other half of Bere is street food, a particular kind of street food called trapizzino. And pizza pockets, they're pizza pockets. So the pizza crust is a cone, and then the cone is stuffed with goodies. Mm. So like you can get one, the lingua and salsa verde. So it's veal tongue, bits of veal tongue with green herb sauce and meatballs and chicken cacciatore and all these things you can stuff in there. And so you can stand up at the bar and have your beer and make a mess all over your shirt with these. They are kind of messy sometimes, so they give you a neat little stand to set them in, which is handy if you've got a beer in one hand and,
Yeah, the little cone stand.
Yeah. And it's cheap. I mean, I think maybe the pizza pockets are €4 or something, the trapizzino. So it is street food price. But meanwhile, you have this ridiculous bar right there.
Yeah, I mean, given that it's one of the most touristed areas in the world, it's still that amazingly affordable.
Yeah, I've never seen it fully packed. I'm sure it does get that way, but I think there's so many options around there. And a lot of people are there for the Vatican, and when it comes to a good place to eat or drink, they're not that picky, they don't really know where they're going, and so... Yeah. But you do now. Well,
and also sort of the way the Vatican lets you out. You come out of St. Peter's Basilica and you walk out a different direction towards the city as opposed to up in that neighborhood. So maybe people are just funneled off the other direction.
True. You were talking about the delis.
Yes.
You were going to talk about Miale also, right?
Yeah, but go ahead, by all means.
Well, I mean, this is one we were both going to talk about. It's exciting. We often don't compare notes at all until we get here, and then it's like, oh, you're going to talk about that? Ooh, I don't even know that place. Oh. Right. So it's fun for us, too. Miale.
Yeah, Miale.
Which, if you're Anglophones, like we are, if you see the place, it says My Ale. Yep. There's like M-Y space A-L-E. But it's a play on words, Miale.
Well, the point is, though, they have amazing pork products hanging on the wall when you walk in, and you get to eat them.
Yeah, it's all salumi. Not all salumi, but the deli, the front deli area, and that's the Italian word for charcuterie, and for, cold cuts, if you don't know. So you get the salami and you get the smoked what's hanging from ropes behind the the hams and things.
Parma, so many cheeses.
So we talking about mortadella in the other place. That's what I went in there and had this big crusty loaf roll mortadella sandwich with cold beer. I had a list of about 30 bottled beers in there. And have you eaten the restaurant downstairs?
I haven't. I only heard of it last time I was there because I was like, where are all these people going? I was there at the time when people would be funneling in, and I was like, oh, there's a whole nother side of this, but I was leaving the next day, so.
Yeah, so the deli side is open in the daytime.
Right.
And then the restaurant downstairs opens in the evening, and it's the same beers are down there, but the emphasis is more on the food. And there's a kitchen, and they're cooking.
Okay.
There's a couple of beers on tap. The beer that I remember best, because I was also in a conversation about this beer recently, is Spaghetti Western. It's called, which I probably ordered because of the name. But I recently found out that they brew it with pasta water.
Oh, wow.
You wouldn't know it drinking it, but...
Interesting.
Yeah. The restaurant has a concept. Normally, I'm afraid of that word because it means somebody's got a clever idea that is distracting away from getting between you and your meal. But in this case, it's pretty fun. And we went in there with the kids and tried to work it out. And you decide how many courses you want, from 1 to 4. I think Kelly and I got 4, and the kids 2, because they're kids. And then there's a long list of ingredients, and you tell them what you don't eat.
Okay.
And that's it.
Right
Then
on.
they take it from there. And so the kids were like, oh, no onions, no garlic, nothing spicy, yada, yada, yada. And then we got to feel all superior and go, we eat everything. So bring it on. So then they surprised us. And I wish I'd taken better notes on the meal. I remember some variation on cacio e pepe, which is something we should probably talk about too, because that's wonderful. I remember a really rich chocolate type dessert. I remember a beautiful chunk of porchetta like roast pork with things on it. I'd been drinking beer a lot of the day also in my defense, so even my pictures of it are bad.
So how about this? You guys go to Miale and you get a table downstairs and you have this experience yourself, because it's going to be fantastic at the end of the day. Beers are great upstairs and the food's great upstairs, but yeah, it sounds like I need to definitely go to the restaurant next time.
I recommend it. It's good fun. Yeah.
There's a bar, sort of shifting gears away from food a bit. There's a bar sort of out in the east by Pignetto. It's called Birra Più, Piu, with a little accent over the top. And it's a little like punk hole-in-the-wall beer bar. And it's, again, broken record here, small on the inside, 13 taps, fantastic representations of local beers on the taps, and then a few great German beers, mostly a couple Belgians, but it's they have Schönrammer Pils on tap last time I was there.
What?
Yeah, couldn't believe it. They also had a Rauchbier, Schenkel on tap as well, which blew my mind. But again, the people are sort of half more outside than inside, because I think there are even some little red rickety tables outside that people sit at. It's the sort of beer bar where everybody has arm tattoos, a few piercings, lots of beards, things like that. And it's just people who really, really love beer, and it's really affordable to go, because it's a little bit outside of the city. I mean, we're not in the suburbs, but we're in the eastern reaches a bit. And you can get there by metro. You just jump on the train. It's a few stops. Like I said, it's a Pignetto stop, and it's right by the station, maybe a block back west from the station. But it's one of those little places where it's like, you're going to go there at 4 o'clock, be like, let's have a couple beers, check this out before dinner. And it's going to be midnight before you realize that you haven't had dinner yet. And then you can just wander around and find a slice of pizza or something else. But you can get stuck there because the beer selection is good and the people there drinking love beer.
You found Schönrammer Pils in Rome.
Yes, I did.
I'm a serious journalist, of course, so I can't be a fanboy for any particular brand, but I'm the jerk who would come all the way from Germany and drink Schönrammer Pils in Rome. It makes
Well, it's one of those things when you find it, well, how is it here? How does it travel, sort of thing.
Yeah, you have to, right?
To me, it tasted lovely, because I feel like one great thing about these little beer bars, outside the city center that are obviously for locals, tourists barely make it out to, is that, like with everything else in Italy, they care so deeply about the quality of the product and the service of the product. Even if you're in a dirty little punk bar, outside the center, they still care deeply about how that product's taken care of and how it gets to you.
And they know about it. And
Yeah.
they know how it's made. And seeing things in these bars like the Holzfass and the bottled lambics in the refrigerators from Belgium and the British style hand pumps for often actually British ales. And at other times there's a couple of breweries like the Hilltop Brewery north of Rome. Yeah. They specialize in casks. So then you're going to see a lot of the Hilltop beers on these hand pumps, and you should definitely try them. They're wonderful. And one I'm thinking of is a strong milk stout called Un Americano. Ooh. And it's a nice rich one around 7%, and then you get that on a cask. I mean, you don't need a pint of that. 25 centiliters of it will do you, but if you can do a half liter, it'll set you on your way.
So, because to sort of wind up here, because Rome is actually a pretty big city. I'm always surprised because there's the center, where the Pantheon and the Spanish Steps are, and that's all very walkable. But then you have the Vatican with their whole neighborhoods around there, and then Trastevere, and then it goes out and out and out. It's a bit of sprawl. Where would you sort of stay if you were there for just, let's say, a long weekend?
I would stay in Trastevere.
Yeah, me too.
We didn't stay there with the family because they wanted a swimming pool somewhere.
La la la.
Yeah, and that's not easy to find in Rome, by the way. But if it's just me and the missus wanting to be near a lot of restaurants and pubs, and that, from there you can walk to all the tourist stuff. You cross the Ponte Sisto and you're not far from the Pantheon, or you can walk down along the river either direction to get to either the Vatican, or the last time I was there, it was this beautiful hot day. Too hot, but I explored the Forum all morning. I never get tired of that, honestly. And then had a really nice long walk up to Trastevere and Mache, and they were opening. It was early afternoon, and there was me and one other person in there, and I was very thirsty.
Yeah, and even that's the great thing about Trastevere is even if walking isn't your jam, if it's too hot, the main tram lines go through there. So then they branch off in the city. So you can basically get everywhere from there by tram or by foot. I mean, I've sort of done both. I've stayed in like an Airbnb there because it's, very bohemian and you can just walk downstairs and have a beer. I've also stayed in like the Hotel Eden up by Harry's Bar on the other side of the city where it's just like, oh, I can walk down into the city and into everything there. So it's a kind of comfort level thing. But I like
I'm not sure there's a wrong answer,
Yeah.
Now the more I think about it, because every neighborhood is going to have its own vibe and own assets and no shortage of things to look at and try. I think that it's a very much a city of neighborhoods, and it's a big city of neighborhoods. So it's I'm not sure there's a wrong answer there. I like the vibe in Trastevere because I'm there for the food and the drink. So
yeah, that's what I generally go for.
There's one more I wanted to mention.
Oh, yeah.
It's on the other side of town, though. It's over by Tiburtina Station. And when you look at the map, you see this huge mess of train tracks. And then when you get there, you also see there's quite busy roads. And so you think there's no way I can walk through that. But you can. It's walkable. I did it. You'll figure to follow your instincts and don't step in front of any taxis unless you want to live really dangerously. In fact, I wouldn't even get in one. It'll turn your hair white, man. It's an adventure. The place out near there is called Pork and Roll. And it's a dumb name. Sorry, but I'm sure it's cool in Italian. It's like kind of exotic English name. But for me, it's like Pork and Roll. The place is much better than its name. It is a literally farm to table. Not literally in that there's a farm out back, but it's down in Apulia, which would be the heel of the boot of Italy. And the guy who opened the restaurant, his dad has a pig farm down there. Also, they grow cereals and things down there, grains. And so anything you can possibly do with a pig can happen in this restaurant. So, and particularly there's a lot of salumi, a variety. So you get your salamis and your more varieties of that than you thought possible. Various hams and also they've got cheeses. But for the bigger fare, they've got ribs and they've got pulled pork sandwiches and things like that too. I don't think I would need to eat a big meal there. I think I would just want to nibble on the salumi and drink the beers because it's, again, what we might call a curated list. He's got some excellent Belgian ales. And he's going to have, he also has his house beers, which I don't think were there when I was there last, a couple of years ago. And I'm not clear on whether he brews them there himself or not. Anyway, I hear good things about them.
Sounds like a very unique experience and a good one to end on, given that I think we've gone around the city, we've gone through the city. And my final thought is just walk around. And if someplace looks like it's a good time, pop in, the food's going to be good, and it's probably going to have amazing beer.
Yeah, and then let us know.
Yeah, by all means.
We don't even care if you pronounce it right, because we try. We're hitting a different country every show, so it's we're not always going to say it right, but we do our best.
Absolutely. You have any final thoughts, Joe?
No, I'm thirsty. Should we go get a beer?
Let's go get a beer. All right, everybody, that was our show with Rome. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. We will surprise you online with where that's going to be. You can find us on pretty much any place of podcast streams: CastBox, Podbean, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes. Rate us, subscribe, like us, download, and you can talk to us on Instagram and Twitter. Twitter, it's Road for the Beer. Instagram, it's One More Road for the Beer. And we'll see you in 2 weeks, everybody. Goodbye.